Hey guys, happy Monday. Is the temperature of your nail studio affecting the way you work? It may be affecting more than you think. I was inspired to talk about this because I live in Chicago and it is currently very, very cold here. And when we're working with gels, a factor that deeply plays into the way that we apply our products is viscosity. Temperature affects viscosity in a big way. Think about like heating up soup. If you have your soup in the fridge and it is in a very cold state, once you warm it up, it's going to get more soupy, a little more watery, right? Same thing with gel. If I'm approaching a nail and I am building up with a builder gel and that bottle or that pot is sitting at a warmer temperature, that gel is going to be a little bit thinner, a little more runny, and it's going to move a lot more quickly. If I walk into my studio and it's really cold in here and my gels are a little more on the chilly side, they're going to be a little bit more seized, a little bit thicker. And this is going to greatly impede the rate at which they self level and flow. So, by understanding that and planning ahead a little bit, we can manipulate the temperature of our gel in such a way that it's going to make our lives a little bit easier. So, we're going to do a little bit of a science experiment today. So, I've prepped 3 bottles of the Nail Thoughts Tinted Builder Base. One I have left at room temperature. I have one chilling in a cold place right now. And I have one bottle in a plastic bag in some warm water just to let it kind of heat up a little bit. And we're going to look at how differently these products move based on their temperature. Let's have a look. So first, let's work with a room temperature bottle. This is Nail Thought's Honey Tea Base. So it's a semi-hard builder base with a tint to it. And when I open this bottle, you will see that it's still got some thickness. It's got some body because it is a builder gel. But letting it drop into the bottle, you'll see that it moves a little more slowly, but it does drip and kind of detach from the brush relatively quickly. Now I'm just going to paint my slip layer first, and you'll see that it's painting very smoothly. It's not fighting me. It goes down very, very nicely. And pay attention to that because you will notice a difference with the way that it paints with the colder and warmer bottles. So let's throw a bead down over our slip layer now. So that slip layer is uncured, and I'm taking a nice bead of my honey tea base and applying it as I would when I'm doing any structured gel manicure. I'm just going to let it kind of spread out and note the way that it moves and levels down the nail. It holds its body very nicely. It's moving not super quick, not super slow. This is how Nail Thoughts Builder Bases typically work for me. So this feels very comfortable. And I'll just manipulate around the side a little bit just to make sure it's nice and smooth. So I was able to achieve that overlay pretty easily using the room temperature Nail Thoughts Builder. It self-leveled really nicely and it didn't get too watery or move to the sides too much. I was able to keep a nice apex. Now let's do the cold one. This is chai latte base. It's one of my favorite nudes. And when I open up this bottle, it definitely already feels a lot thicker. Picking up a bead and trying to let it fall off of that brush. Note that it's moving really, really slowly. It doesn't want to form that bead as quickly as the room temperature gel did. It's definitely taking its sweet time falling off of the brush. It almost doesn't even want to. Wow, I'm sitting here waiting. There we go. So now painting my slip layer, I can already feel how much thicker this is. It's harder to kind of drag the gel and pull it all over the nail. So now let's put a bead down over our uncured slip layer. And I'm doing the exact same motions as I did with that honey tea base, that room temperature gel. I feel it moving a lot slower. It's not self-leveling in the same way. So it means it's not spreading out to the sidewalls as easily. You can see that I still have a lot of translucency around the sides because the gel has not flowed through that slip layer. And it will still flow, it'll still move, it's just going to take some more time for it to really get there. So that would definitely slow me down if I was working on a client. Now, because I had to touch and manipulate this one a little bit more, I haven't flipped it yet, but you can see that there's some inconsistencies in my light lines, and my apex is a little bit flatter. It's not as smooth, it's kind of thicker overall. So now this is lip gloss base. This is the bottle that I have had sitting in that warm water, just getting a little bit warmer. And when I open up this bottle and pull a nice bead out, you will see that it's flowing a lot faster, definitely more watery. Did not take very long at all for that bead to fall off of my brush. So now applying a slip layer, this almost feels like a gel color when I'm painting it because of that lower viscosity. The warmth of the gel has made it thinner. So it's much, much easier to paint it over the whole nail and get a really, really thin application. So that's kind of an advantage when you're doing your slip layer, but it's going to be a little bit trickier to work with doing our overlay. Working with a bead now, I'm going to apply it the same way I applied the other two. And I can already feel and see how much faster this gel is leveling into that slip layer. It's moving much quicker. It's harder to keep that gel in the center of the nail. And you can see over here, I'm already getting a little bit of uh, a thick side wall just from the way that it's kind of relaxed into the nail. So I'm working in the sides, pushing the gel back towards the center. But because of the warmth of this gel, it's going to be a little bit trickier to keep a nice high apex. So with this one, it was definitely much thinner. I had a harder time keeping the gel in the center of the nail, so I did have to flip it a little bit more just to pull that gel towards the center and away from the sidewalls to get a good smooth overlay. So warming a gel, especially if it's cold, can be advantageous, but there are limits to how warm you want it to prevent it from being runny. Using this technique for something like our Excel Builder Clear might be advantageous for you if you're used to a thinner gel. So check this out now. I've got my cold gel, my room temperature gel, and my warm gel, and I'm just going to place them vertically, and we're going to watch what happens, how fast or slow they drip. Now you can already see that the warmest gel over here on the right is really starting to float fast and drip down the palette, where the room temperature one is moving a little more slowly, but it's moving, and the cold one really hasn't moved at all. And after sitting here for about 30-45 seconds, you can see that the warm one really floated down, really kind of moved down the palette quickly. The room temperature gel definitely moved a lot more slowly than the warm one. And the cold one, while it did kind of move down a little bit, really didn't move much at all. So we can really see here how much temperature can affect the way that our gels lay down. Pretty neat, right? So in a perfect world, we would be keeping our nail studios at a good, consistent, like nice room temperature so that our gels will live within that room temperature and they will be ready to go at any time. But if you feel the need to slightly augment the temperature of your gel before you go in with application, you just want to make sure that you're not doing it in an extreme way. I've heard of nail techs putting their bottles in towel warmers or in microwaves sometimes, and that's a little much for me. Affecting the temperature in such an extreme way can definitely mess with the formula within the bottle and lead to some real issues. Back in my day, when we were learning how to work and manipulate gels, the easiest way to kind of warm it up and work it up is just to place it on your chair right beside your leg and give it some body heat for a few minutes. These days, a lot of people like using mug warmers that you can just place right on your desk. It's a coaster that kind of warms up a little bit and it will just work some heat into the gel. Adversely, you don't really want to be sitting your gels in a freezer. I have a mini fridge that's set to not be super duper cold, so like placing it in there for 5 minutes is really, really helpful if I feel like the gel is a little too runny. And it can be hard to really identify what the perfect room temperature is because there are so many factors that go into it, like humidity. This can very greatly affect the way that your gels move. So you got to find that little sweet spot. It's important to note too that if you have a gel that is at a higher temperature, if it is warmer and it is much looser, it's going to be more difficult for you to build proper height in your apex without it kind of relaxing and spreading too much. And then if it's too cold, you're going to find that it's going to be a little bit harder to self-level and apply on the nail in a smooth manner. So if you haven't considered the temperature of your room before and how it might affect your services, it may be something to think about. If you have any questions about this, we have our cute little comment section down below. You can drop your questions in there. We'll do our very best to get back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for tuning in. I always appreciate it. Stay busy, stay inspired, and we'll see you right back here in 7 days for another episode of Monday Masters. Stay warm.